And let's go back now to the next stage, which would be to sell these items to particular customers. So we go back to the Action tab, and we go to the Documents, and we would go to the Estimates, and we would create a new estimate. Again, I could click New to create a new customer here if I needed to, but I'm just going to choose this existing tutorial customer over here and pick him out from the list. You can see all his relevant information over here. In this case, if your reference would again imply that you're talking about your customer's reference. So if they'd given you a purchase order or something like that, you would put that information in here or that number in there so that they can reference that against their system. You can change your salesperson over here according to who is actually making the sales, and all of that can be set up as well. Again, simply clicking the dotted line gives you more space over here, and then you would click Insert. Now in this case we're going to choose a drill press, and one of the nice plugins that we have available over here is that you can click this little plus option, and it gives you a free field here that you can actually type in a custom message. So you can come in here and say type in message to customer, and that will appear on the estimate that you have. And if you click OK here, again you get to see what the estimate looks like, and there you can see the message to the customer that you've enabled to just type that in on the fly, and it gives you a total. It tells you what the exclusive amount is, what the tax rate is that you're using, and what the sales tax amount is, and what the inclusive amount is, and other references such as the salesperson and other messages that you have. Now once that is completed, again you could save this to a PDF onto your Dropbox if you wanted to, but more likely you're going to want to just email this directly to the customer. So click on Email Pro, and in this case this is an invoice or an estimate, and then you say close, and you would then type in please find attached estimate, and then you would send that off to your customer. They would then come back to you and confirm that is correct, that's what they wanted. If you need any changes, you could come in there and then simply click confirmation, and then it turns this into an invoice. So do you want to delete the estimate? You don't need it anymore, so you could say yes. And this tells us that we're out of inventory. This is not particularly true. We'll double check why that's happening later. Let's just continue for now, and then we come back to invoices, and there is the invoice that is ready to be sent off to this customer. So now you don't have to go through the estimate process. You can go directly to the invoicing process if you need to. So in this case I'm going to say new, and then I'm going to go to this customer here and just double click. And for this customer, I'm simply going to select the item and choose OK. And there is the invoice that we have for that customer. And then I'm going to go through this new again, and I'm going to choose green. And we still have I'm just going to choose that customer there. And I'm going to insert for him. We're going to sell him the remaining drill press because we purchased 2 of them. And here I'm going to say OK. You wish to print this invoice now? Yes. And again, those can be emailed off to those customers. But what is important to notice is that all of these 3 invoices are, as at the moment, unposted. So if you come through here and you look at posted, you'll see we have none of them posted. If we have all of them, you can see all of them, but typically these are unposted. So all 3 of these items need to be posted. So I'm going to select those items over there and then click Posting. And it comes into the Update Invoices, which is the same as this item here called Update Ledger. And now you can click Update, and it posts it off into the ledger, and then you can close out of that, And now let's go back to our reports and look at the ledger here, and we can see now what the story is. So let's just click report again, and now we can see that we have additional information relating to the transactions that have happened. So under accounts receivable, these people owe us this money, and we owe A1 suppliers that amount of money, and we've taken that amount of tax, and we've made that amount of sales, and you can see how much those particular sales have actually cost us. Again, we can click the print and get a nice report out to actually see what's happened with the transactions that we've created. Clicking the X down here to get back to that. So those are the accounting procedures that we have to do to purchase the inventory and to sell the inventory. The next thing we want to do is we want to link that up to what's happening with the bank account. So what we need to do is to go into the batch entry and choose our banking account and click open. It'll allow us to put in our existing bank balance as of a given date and to say open. And there we have the batch entry for the bank account. Now, part of this system is that you have this bank import plugin, which is going to make your bank reconciliation procedures all very much easier, because you can simply suck in a bank statement. Well, you would go to your bank and download a bank statement in one of the preferred formats, and then you can click this option here and say you want to actually import that. In this case, you can see we're choosing this Quicken QIF 4 digits. Most of the banks will supply a bank statement in that format. If you want to use a different bank format, you can send that to us and we'll update this to accommodate you within a reasonably short period of time. But for now, let's just choose this Quicken QIF format and click import. And then you would go to your Dropbox files. I've stored them under a folder called bank statements. And then this is the one I'm going to actually be loading. And I would then click open and it brings it in. You can see the default reference is related to the date. Otherwise, you can type in your own statement reference here so that each of these transactions will have a reference number according to the date of the bank statement or the date you imported this. So in this case, I'm going to choose close, and there it is, and then I'm going to choose close again, and it brings it into the batch. Now you'll notice here it's very important that we now assign each one of these lines to the correct category or the chart of accounts, or to which field this actually belongs. We need to assign these these accounts here. So in this case, this is a PG&E bill. So I would click into the account here, and this is a utility. So I would just simply type util, and it finds the account that I'm looking for, and I'm going to choose that one. Now in this case, you can see this is a green. I can move in between here and actually make this wider so we can get to see the full description. You can make these fields bigger or wider, but there we have a deposit from Green into our bank for that amount. Now we'd like to relate that to Mr. Green's account, or Ms. Green's account, as the case may be. So we right click over here and we say lookup. There's a whole lot of different lookup options here that are available. So I'm going to say look up that document with an amount. So it goes through the open documents that we're looking for, and we can see that's the one it relates to. So that's the guy over there, and so I would double click that, and it is correct. And then we can you can see here it says open item selection, so it's choosing that, and then we can say that's correct, and we say close, and you can see it puts in his account number into that field. And likewise for this one, we can say look up with amount, and it goes through and searches for that particular document. And in this case, we don't find that particular amount. Not quite sure why. 368. This might be let's look up Fred Funk. So let's look up by customer. So I'm going to right click over there, so look up customer, and that would relate to Fred, and so there it is, and I would click close, and you can see it assigns it to him. And over here I want to look up this customer, and so look up customer, and we would assign that to Edward. And then a Safeway store, that would typically be a purchase. So let's just simply click in here and then type in supplies, and gas would be related to auto, so we'd click that in and type in auto, and you could say auto expenses, and then this would be paying our vendor, and so we'd click in there and we'd look up again, probably clicking in the bank, and say look up document with amount, and it would be looking for purchases, and there it is, and you choose that amount, and you can see that this is going off the screen a little bit, so you might want to actually make that a little bit smaller and then drag it back again, and then you can actually see that that is what we're looking for. See, sometimes it might require that you do a little bit of maneuvering to get to see the whole screen, but then you say OK and then close, and now each one of these elements has been correctly assigned to the account that it's meant to be for, and then you can come down here, and let's just maximize this, and then we can then say balance. We want to click on process here, and we want to balance the batch, and you can see it assigns the checking amount to the checking according to the correct balances, and then you can actually then post the batch and say post batch and say OK, and it posts the batch to the ledger, and then you can reconcile if you want to, and say reconcile these amounts, and you can check all of these accounts off here and say yes, these are working, and then you can say process and then shut that down and then close, and then cancel out of that. Now let's report again, and you can now see the updated information that relates to what's actually happened in the books. We now have an amount of that in our checking account. We have there was still some issue with the Fred account that was probably related to me importing an incorrect amount through the bank account. That was a manual problem, but the rest of the information is all correct, and you can see how we've got a cost of sales, auto expenses, supplies, and we get the system working that way.